Group B now on track for the NASCAR Cup Series practice and qualifying from here at the Magic Mile. Group A, they have already gone. This is the top 10 as far as a one-lap time. William Byron, Kyle Busch, Chase Briscoe, Elliott, and Busch are the top 5. Again, they had 20 minutes on track. Now this is Group B's 20 minutes on track. Here are the rules that they will be following for today's practice and qualifying. Both groups will practice 20 minutes each. A has already gone. B now on the track and on the clock. It will then be single car qualifying. It's 2 rounds. The fastest 5 from each group will then go to the second round, and they will determine the top 10 starting positions as well as the pole. Alongside Hall of Famer Dale Jarrett, Rick Allen with you from the booth. Another Hall of Famer down on the Peacock pit box with Dale Earnhardt Jr. Steve Letarte, Kim Kuhn on pit road, getting all of the stories and following all of the developing items that are taking place here in the Granite State this weekend. As we see Kevin Harvick, he has won here recently but needs to win. He's just below the cut line when it comes to the top 16 making it into the playoffs, and so a win here could catapult him back into championship contention.
Yeah, and you have to think that Rodney Childers and Kevin Harvick circled this. Things haven't been good for them. They haven't really contended in the top 5 a whole lot, but they have run better recently. And when you talk about drivers that can get a job done at certain tracks, Phoenix, here, flat racetracks, Kevin Harvick is the man to beat. This could be their weekend.
He's shifting once. We've heard other drivers that are shifting twice, at least getting into downshifting twice, and then obviously upshifting twice once they come out of the turn. But with Kevin Harvick, the big concern, at least for the team, it seemed as though, was on pit road. They made some changes. They've gotten better. He's been more competitive. Now I think the team as a whole continues to want to keep growing and keep using that momentum to get better each week. A great place to come for them, a racetrack where he's won before.
Yeah, and you know, we hear these drivers talk about how much different the cars drive.
You look really good to be tucked up behind somebody. Doing good.
Yeah, back inside the when you get outside the top 10, you're in big groups. The car drives so much differently. If you can keep that track position, your pit crew's doing their job, and you make adjustments to the car, and you find yourself running up inside that top 5 more, your car drives better, and then all of a sudden everything comes in better, and you give yourself more opportunities.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting watching the 4 car run around here, and we got to see Chase Briscoe practice a little bit just before this in the first group. He had a lot of speed. Remember that car? Very fast at Phoenix. A lot of people say that those 2 tracks, Phoenix and New Hampshire, have a lot of similarities. So maybe the 4 car leaning a little bit on what the Chase Briscoe guys have been doing. Chase has the speed again here this weekend. So I have to imagine Kim's caught up with Chase as they sort of work together as a company to try to bring this 4 car up to speed.
They definitely are working together, because I watched Chase get out of his car after the first group practice, and you walked over to the 4 and you walked over to the 41. What did you tell your teammates about that round of practice?
I was just telling them it's kind of been a big guessing game of how rough it's going to be into 3, and I think all of us were a little bit worried about it just because of things that happen at Fontana and other rough racetracks, and I just told them that it's going to hit hard, it's probably going to hurt your back, but I didn't feel like it affected the balance or anything like that. So yeah, hopefully it'll help them. You know, we were trying to mess around downshift, and I felt like it was kind of the same going down to 3rd or 4th. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I think we have a pretty good Mahindra tractors forward. See what we can do in qualifying. I feel like I normally am so lost here, and I feel like I at least kind of have a car that drives kind of how I want it, so hopefully that'll be good for tomorrow.
So more on the shifting, you felt like shifting twice wasn't benefiting you and your car?
Yeah, it's just on new tires, I feel like it makes a lot of noise. It sounds like you're going fast, but you're not really going anywhere. So I do think, you know, probably on the long run, as tires start falling off, you're probably going to do it. It's just a matter if you can keep the rear tires underneath it going to 3rd gear. So I don't know. I feel like I've shifted at a lot of places. So I feel like that's a huge tool that I try to use. And I don't know, like early on stickers, I don't think you're going to go to 3rd, but I do think at the end of the race and as the long run goes, you're definitely going to be going down to 3rd.
Interesting perspective from Chase Briscoe, Steve, as that was one thing you mentioned early before we started this practice is shifting, and how much will drivers be doing that here on the racetrack?
Yeah, there was a lot of questions entering practice. I wanted to jump in here and grab Brad Keselowski, another group of Ford. So, Brad, first of all, a lot of questions coming here. Shifting, grip, the bumps into 3. You and your teammate, Chris Buescher, both were in the first session. Did you accomplish some of the goals? Speed looked good, both inside the top 6.
Yeah, reasonable so far. You know, when you come here, Steve, it's really hard to practice because the other series are on the track with their rubber, and you know, the first session is trying to, as much learn your car, is get that rubber off the track so you can get a good read. But both of our cars seem decent. We brought some new things here this week, and so far showing a little bit of speed. These haven't been our strongest tracks, so we're working really hard on that.
So we're up here in New England, and now I'm a Red Sox fan, but you're wearing the hat for more than just a fan, like RFK, so the Roush and the Keselowski, but for the fans at home, Fenway, you're in their backyard. And what's it mean like to race up here in front of that crowd, your business partners?
Well, yeah, they're a great partner to have, you know. Not only do they have the Red Sox, they got the soccer team there in Liverpool, and now the Pittsburgh Penguins, so we got a lot to live up to. We want the NASCAR team to be as much of a storied franchise as those others, so we're working really hard. We want to make them proud.
Even a veteran driver, a champ like Brad Keselowski's here watching this practice, looking at data, just doing anything he can do to learn before it's time to go qualify later today.
And again, we mentioned Brad winning here recently, so able to get to victory lane, and it's probably going to take a win for Brad Keselowski to make it into the playoffs. Has not been a great start to the 2022 season for that team as we ride along right now with Kurt.
Yeah, you can see the downshift there as he entered turn 3. It's through there, and somewhere right here he's going to go back into 5th gear, which is their highest gear. See this opportunity here to downshift here before you get down into the corner. Talk to these drivers about the difficulty of driving these cars. You know, there's so many things that are different with the suspension, with the brakes, the amount of downforce and side force versus the old cars, and having to relearn all that. Talking to my son, Jason, who actually spots for Kurt Busch, spotted for Ryan Newman for 7 or 8 years, and just talking about Kurt and what he's like in the meetings, you know, and on the racetrack, the information he likes. But the one thing that he keeps telling me is the attention to detail that Kurt Busch brings to the organization, that what he speaks up about are the little things that a lot of other people don't bring up. Mm-hmm. And we've talked all about this. Everywhere Kurt Busch has been, he's made that organization better. Yeah. And so he does that, and he continues to win. And it's the little things. Everybody can do a lot of the big things, but this is a man and a driver that pays attention to detail.
How about this detail for the 5 of Kyle Larson coming off of turn 2? A little moment.
You can see right down the bottom, trying to get that big run off of there, trying to get wide open in the gas as fast as you can. That thing stepping out there, that takes a lot right there to not wreck that race car. Did a great job.
He gets them sideways, but most of the time on dirt. But he's able to do it here on the asphalt as well. Back for Group A, and this is the practice session. Group B. Group A has already gone. There's just under 7 minutes to go here in Group B. The fast lap times for Group B, just a couple of them are really inside the top 8 to 10 from what Group A has done. So the track maybe not as quick for this second group going out.
Yeah, so you wonder, because the track was just cool for that first group, plus you had a different rubber. We heard Brad Keselowski talk about that. A lot of times you wonder, is that good or bad? And you know, at this point in time, it's looking like that first group had a little bit of an advantage somehow, but this is all going to equal out as we move on.
And Kevin Harvick's coming onto pit road now, and so Harvick had been out there for 22 laps. His fastest lap came at lap 7. The 99 Daniel Suarez still out there. Yeah,
and they've struggled a little bit here. You can you know, Chastain's up in the top 5, but Daniel Suarez hadn't figured things out here with this car right now. But that's, you know, that's the way things go. You're not always the same.
Corners are pretty disconnected, Travis. You have the center a little bit, but I feel like the back is on top of the track. Corner 1 and 2.
Yeah, good information there. And this is a track that the two ends look very similar, but they drive quite a bit different the way that you approach them, getting in and the exit of the corner too. So when he's talking about being disconnected there, it just makes it a difficult as to what you can do. And you know, Steve knows a lot more about the adjustments you can make on these cars and what little you can do. This 20 minutes goes by extremely fast.
Yeah, just over 5 minutes remaining in this Group B's practice time on track. Logano currently the 6th quickest. Look at 5 straight New Hampshire top 10s for Logano, so a good track for him. His first win ever came at this racetrack, and again, Lily up here in the New England area, perfect for Joey Logano to get that first win. It came with when he was running for Joe Gibbs Racing.
Not many times do you have a flat tire and it benefits you, but on this day it did. It actually put them on an alternate strategy than others. They were able to run along, and then all of a sudden rains came, and next thing you know, they're celebrating victory lane.
Yeah, holding the lobster up. Another unique trophy here. It's the Magic Mile.
Well, surprised that I'm not seeing more speed out of the Penske cars. I really expected that, because when I thought about this weekend, thinking about how good the Fords have been, and they were at Phoenix, and then you talk about St. Louis and Richmond, very competitive there. I really expected to see them at the top of the charts, to be quite honest, but haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, we'll go to Kim first. Kim?
And with these short practices, the hope for these teams is that you unload decently and you can stay out on the track and log some laps. That's not the case for Denny Hamlin. They are making changes. Take a listen.
It feels like I'm loose in on the neutral turn down the end, and I'm loose on exit. I've got wheel through the center. I am tight there, but I got problems before that, so you gotta work on that.
And this is actually the second time Denny has parked in the pit stall for changes. That was right after the first run. They went back out. Denny said, guys, I still need more changes. I cannot charge the corner at all. It is way too loose and definitely too loose in braking. So this is their second set of the minor changes you can make with this style practice and qualifying format currently in the Cup Series.
Steve, you mentioned earlier that there was, changes that could be made. How many things are they having, or what do they have in their toolbox that they can work on?
You can make major adjustments. As I mentioned earlier, you can make any changes that can really be done with 2 tires on the ground. So you could jack up the left or the right. You can adjust all the springs, which adjusts all the ride heights of the car, which is really the biggest adjustment. Front ride height in this car is probably the biggest knob they all turn. You can also adjust front bar, rear bar if you're running one, all the shock adjustments. So there's many, many different things you can do. What I liked about that feedback, while it's frustrating to have that many issues, is that Denny Hamlin was pointed and said, you have to fix the entry and exit. I have wheel in the middle, but if you fix the entry and exit, I can be better. And just like that, he jumps up to 8th on the board.
Steve, you talk about the things they can change. There are some adjustments that they can't change, and some things that just take too long. One of the things that I've learned with this car is the nose weight. Typically, changing nose weight during practice was something we would do often in our career. But with this car, it takes so long to take the car apart to be able to move the weight, and it really doesn't have a ton of weight in it. But that's one of the adjustments that you're sort of stuck with when you leave the shop.
That was interesting. You mentioned nose weight. The 11 had the nose higher than I think any other car. As we look at the 8 and the 19 and the different ways they attack this racetrack.
Yeah, you can see even right here, and sometimes you have to look at paint schemes. Is that a little deceiving? But the back of the 19 car is down. You can see it more down than what you see with the 8 car of Tyler Reddick right there, and what they're able to do with their cars. And I think that makes a big difference. That I think this is what we've seen from the Joe Gibbs Racing shops since Phoenix. They were not good there, but as they showed up at other Richmond and then St. Louis, we saw a different look and a different attitude of their cars, and that's translating into more speed. And I know that everybody probably knows this, but the beep outs was not Denny saying good things about his car. So that was just to make sure that everybody understood just how bad that was. And these drivers talk about every single week, to make speed with these cars, you have to attack the corners.
Only 1 minute remaining in this Group B practice session, as Tyler Reddick, he was definitely news of the week. The announcement that he will be driving for 2311 Racing in 2024. That news came out yesterday. Ty Dillon, the news that they will part ways with the 42 team. So he will not be driving that car in 2023. So a lot of things happening this last week as far as rides in the Cup Series.
Whew, what a couple of weeks span for this young man right here. But let's watch them if they're both going to run down into turn 3 right here. I think we'll see Tyler Reddick make a much wider entry into the corner. We see Martin Truex get down to the center of the corner and on the bottom part of the racetrack. So two completely different lines right here. As you can see Truex trying to roll that bottom a little bit more of a short track type run there and get a straighter shot on the exit of the corner.
30.82 for Reddick on that lap. And the different line run by Truex Jr. was a 30.67. So a little bit faster for the 19 than the 8 as the red and black flags are displayed to Group B. And so that is the end of practice from here at the Magic Mile. The cars will all make their way onto pit road and they will get prepared for qualifying, which again is 2 rounds coming up. Each car will go out, have a lap, and the top 5 from each group advance to the 2nd round of qualifying. That's all coming up next. Keep it right here. We're lucky over 200 hours of NASCAR on USA, and you take a look at this, 9 of the next 11 Cup races are on USA. Of course, pre and post race coverage will be on USA for those races as well. And on the Xfinity side, 10 of the next 11 races will be on USA. So a lot of coverage that will take place on USA. As we look at the practice, we're going to combine Group A and B as far as the fastest speeds, and you'll notice there's a disparity here. So many more out of this top 10 have come out of Group A. So DJ asked the question, will the track be different for those drivers that were in Group A that went out on the track first than it was for Group B?
Rick, we all generally like a surprise, but I think what these guys from Group A are going to find out, the surprise that they're going to get with this racetrack being completely different than what they went out on, might not be a lot of fun for their lap. We'll see if they're able to continue with that speed that they showed there early on.
So William Byron was the fastest. We saw Kyle Larson in Group B was also very quick. Junior, what did you see during that practice session that you're looking forward to for qualifying?
Well, I know a lot of teams got to work on their car. 20 minutes is actually longer than you think when you get out on the racetrack. Of this size, at least, you can make quite a few laps, quite a few changes, and really improve your car. We saw some teams actually do that. But listening to Chase Briscoe and him talking about how good his car was, but how lost he is when he goes to qualify at this track. I find this track to be one of the most toughest tracks to go make a qualifying run. And when you narrow that down to 1 lap, you've got to do it all right. And those tires have to come in. The grip has to be there. You don't want to underdrive the car. You don't want to overdrive the car. It's a fine line and a difficult thing to do.
Fine line at a racetrack like this. So
yeah, it's a huge
you don't want to cross
commitment.
it.
Yeah, because if you do, you're going to create a big bad situation for yourself and for your race team with maybe a car and a bad starting spot. But if you go out there and you're a little too conservative, then you're going to find yourself not very happy with your starting spot either. So you really have to attack this. But this being new, this is the tough place. There's to see your marks, and you always want to try to get a little bit more as a driver. And sometimes you step over that line, you find yourself in real trouble.
It's funny you say step over that line as we look at Ross Chastain here talking with the team. 2 groups will go out. Group A will go out first, then Group B here at Ovals. They will then have the fastest 5 from each group that will then battle for the top 10 spots at the end in round 2 of qualifying. So that's the rules that these drivers will be taken care of. We saw Bubba Wallace yesterday at dinner. He was grabbing a pizza. Which I think is a great meal when you come up here into New England, the Northeast.
Or anywhere.
That's right. All smiles on his face. He's obviously looking to make it back to victory lane. 2311, as you mentioned earlier, with Kurt Busch over there. That organization continues to rise. And the announcement that took place this last week, the addition of Tyler Reddick in 2024, I think that competition will just always bring everybody up.
It does. And, this is an organization that we looked at that started last year with a 1-car situation, and then Kurt Busch was quickly added as 2 cars. And, is this going to continue to be 2 cars, or are they going to add a 3rd car? But a lot going on there in a very positive manner for Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan and that team.
Making things happen with 2311 here this year. As we see the first car out on track, that's BJ McLeod. He's taking on the Magic Mile. And BJ, best finish here of 30th at this racetrack. That happened a year ago. BJ McLeod, one of the owner drivers in the Cup and Xfinity Series. Steve.
All right, so we talk about a busy, short practice and qualifying. I've done this a lot, and my head's kind of spinning for a rookie trying to figure out a new car on this very difficult racetrack. What's this session like?
It goes by quick. You know, you really got to get those first few laps really on point because I think that's your best read, especially for qualifying here. So unloading, not really knowing where to brake, not really knowing how the car's going to handle is a big challenge. So just a lot of work before the weekend goes into it to kind of make the session feel longer, like you're not drinking through a fire hose as much. So, man, it's a challenge, but it's a fun one for sure.
Well, I appreciate it. You jump in. You're only about 6 or 8 cars away, so I'm not going to hold Harrison up, Kim. But it's a lot to understand for the veterans. I can't imagine what it's like swimming upstream for a rookie.
No doubt about that, and the guy who's looking to defend his win knows how to get around this place is Eric Almirola, but qualifying very different than the race here. How do you attack the track differently than you will tomorrow?
It's certainly a balance, you know, in race trim. You got to keep the tires on it and be consistent. We typically get a lot of long green flag racing here, so managing the brakes and the tires and all that stuff usually pays off in the long run. Where qualifying, you just got to go. You just got to attack it. But if you attack it a little too hard and overstep the entry, it can really cost you just not being able to get back to throttle and get off the exit of the corners. So of all the places we go, qualifying here is probably among the trickiest.
That's Eric Almirola again, hoping to make it back-to-back wins here at New Hampshire. And Artie Chatter, will he return to that 10 car after previously announcing that this is going to be his last full-time season?
We look back on that win from a year ago, and Eric Almirola taking advantage of able to get by that 2 of Keselowski.
Yeah, it was a very impressive run that he had the entire day. Fast race car. Even when they got themselves back in the pack, he was able to pass and work his way back to the front. Fun to have a car like that at this place.
All smiles for Almirola. As we see the 3 making his way out onto the track now. So Austin Dillon, part of RCR, Richard Childress Racing.
Yeah, so we talked about the news with Tyler Reddick. You know, it doesn't just affect Tyler Reddick. And Tyler Reddick, I'm not criticizing what he did. I think that the timing was not good, the best for everything. But this also affects Austin Dillon, this entire organization. Austin Dillon, though, is the face. You know, this is his grandfather that owns this race team, that's had it and built it into a championship team for so many years. But how does everybody move forward here? And so a lot of pressure, a lot of change. And so you have to look at where do we go.
You can look at that lap that Austin just ran, and I watched that timer and him losing time to McLeod's lap off corner exit of turn 4, and that's because he got the right front tire on the seams. We wonder about the seams in this racetrack. They greatly affect the way the car handles, and you can kind of get hung up on the seams, which is basically the grooves in the asphalt, little cracks through the corners. And so I wondered if it would bother this car, this tire. It's all new. It appears that that can still happen, Steve.
Dale, I was wondering the same thing. I've learned to just ask a driver. So Eric Jones in his car waiting to qualify. Eric, Dale was just talking about the seams and different lines and how the seams still seem to be affecting a car. And this specific car, are you feeling it in your 43 car?
Yeah, I am. I mean, it's kind of a weird sensation because, you know, the resin's kind of there, and you're using a little bit of that, and then you're also kind of dealing with the seams there, especially it seems like on the exit of 2. It's pretty tough to get through there right. But I don't know. It feels similar like New Hampshire always has. It's just kind of tough around these cars, but you know, I think we're close here, so see what we can do in qualifying.
Eric Jones, when he said similar to New Hampshire always has, I could feel that, Junior. I'm like, I know what he's talking about. This place is so difficult, so low grip, and now in this fast-paced session, it's you know, just hard to figure it out as you see his teammate, the 42, on track.
Yeah, basically the seams in the asphalt, if you got down on the track, there's about an inch of nothing in between. Like, it's a big giant crack in the racetrack, basically between each groove in the asphalt. And so when the tire goes across that, you lose a ton of grip. Look here, the 42 car getting loose off of turn 2. And so you try to want to avoid those seams. You have to cross them, but you really don't want to sit on them too long because the tire does not grip the racetrack.
As we see Todd Gilliland now out onto the racetrack.
Yeah, so those seams, as Dale Jr. just pointed out, you have no choice but to cross them at some point in time there, but it does make you alter, or can make you alter, exactly how you enter the corner, how much you want to let your car go up in the center of the corner, and then you really want to be straight, if possible, going across it on the exit of the corner to try to keep as much traction as possible.
Gilliland was 17th at Atlanta, his 6th top 20 of 2022, Steve.
We see William Byron here coming to take the green. So I've talked to some drivers, standing with Drew Blitzerfer, Eric Almirola's new crew chief this year, first year together. Talk about this format, this system as a crew chief. I see you're on your phone, communicating, looking at data. How quick does the information come, and how quick can you apply it?
Never quick enough. You know, you think about afterwards, man, we should have done this. But yeah, trying to get back to the shop, have the guys that are working in the shop get back to you. You know, not only are you on communication next to your pit box or your garage stall, but you have to be out here too. So you don't get it quick enough, Steve. A lot of times it's a rush with this format. You hopefully unload well so that you don't have to make too many changes.
You think it's stressful being at home, trying to get your Amazon order in when the internet goes down, trying to be one of these crew chiefs out here? It can go sideways quick if you don't have connection.
I like that Steve's ordering off Amazon is what he's worried about for
Best
internet
golf
connection.
clubs and stuff like that. Yeah.
Keselowski on the clock now. Roush Fenway, Keselowski, the RFK organization. And DJ, we're noticing pretty much to a driver, with the exception of William Byron. And actually, William Byron did slow down as well. Everyone has gone slower from what they ran in the Group A practice session that they were out there.
Yeah, it's, I mean, even though we still have some cloud cover, the track is heating up some, and I think that's why this is a different track. And now we're getting complete rubber on the racing surface from this Goodyear tire. So I think these drivers are finding maybe not quite as much grip as what they had, even though Byron was really close, within 1/10 of a second.
Yeah, 2/10 of a second slower for Brad Keselowski. Now it's Alex Bowman that's out there in the Ally 48.
You can see that 48 car twitching around the racetrack there, and I just think that it takes this tire that much time to come in. We saw in practice what we usually see at New Hampshire, and it's a lot of cars take about 6, 7, 8 laps before they actually run that fast lap. And so having to go out there and make it happen right now on a colder tire is a little bit difficult. And you can see these guys having a hard time getting the heat and the grip up in the tire.
Yeah, that's what makes qualifying and restart so difficult at this racetrack.
So again, Group A qualifying underway. About half the field has gone. We'll be back for the second half of Group A. Such beautiful country up here in New England. Mount Washington. Got a bunch of minor league baseball teams here. We talked about pizza joints and taking advantage of that. Bike week. Laconia, I'm telling you, there's so many things to do up here. And of course, the pinnacle of things to do is come right here to New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Such a beautiful area. They've done such a great job with this racetrack. It's so much fun. There's a Ferris wheel.
Yeah, they got a little bit of everything.
Who would not want to be a part of the festivities all around the racetrack as well?
Yeah, and they've supported this since the very first time. I remember coming out, I think 1990 was the first Xfinity race that was run here. And the fans were out in droves at that time. And not only do they come, but they are so very knowledgeable. You know, a lot of people think, oh, well, that part of the country is not really racing country. Well, yes, it is. There are many, many, many short tracks around here. And some of the best in the world have come from this area in driving stock cars, too. So it's just a great place. Always has been. And the fans fan support makes you, as a driver and competitor, want to do even better.
This is the second half of Group A qualifying as we see Bubba Wallace on the clock, and the fastest so far has been William Byron. He's standing by with Kim.
And let's find out what he thought of that lap. Top of the board, William. Could you have done anything differently? And if you transfer to the next round, did you save anything?
Definitely can't save anything. You know, I think everyone goes so hard and the times are so close together. So just try to put a good lap together. You know, this place has been a struggle, you know, in the past. So just trying to work on little details to get better and thanks to Mr. H and everybody at Hendrick Cars for letting me do the Xfinity race today. I'm excited for that, and feels like we've got a good Cup car so far. So, just excited for the weekend. We've had speed, so we just gotta capitalize on it this weekend.
Good luck.
Thank you,
William Byron. Maybe riding a little wave of momentum, guys, from winning Slinger Nationals earlier this week.
Gotta love momentum.
Yeah.
How about Bubba Wallace? He was actually faster than what we saw in practice. He's the first one to be faster.
Yeah.
As now Harrison Burton goes out and puts up a lap. He's 8th quickest. Now we're comparing everyone to 5th, which is right now Gilliland, because the top 5 will advance to the 2nd round as Kyle Busch now on the clock.
Yeah, and that was outstanding. If you were watching Bubba's time there, that was outstanding 3 and 4 that he made there to get himself up in that 2nd spot.
So again, comparing to Todd Gilliland, who's 5th right now, you see Kyle Busch in the green and gaining.
Yeah, in the green there, not in the green race car this week. That'll be Martin Truex Jr.
Yeah, a lot of differences in the paint schemes for Joe Gibbs Racing this week, other than Denny Hamlin's still back with that FedEx paint scheme. As we see that lap for Kyle Busch breaks into the top 5.
there, 30-30.
It just does get in the top 5.
Chattered the front tires the whole time. Just.
Okay, so he's chattering those front tires getting in there. That means he can't get it set to turn the center of the corner there so he can get back in the gas hard, and you can see that cost him time.
Chase Briscoe's turn now. We've ridden along with Chase a lot already in this practice and qualifying now, as we see, big hand movement there.
Trying to get back to the gas, just can't do it. You can see that cost him a lot of time, just not being able to put the throttle down. Later down, shifting into the high gear. Now he's going to downshift. Yeah, really having to wait a long time and can't get back full throttle. This is probably going to keep him outside of that top 5 for sure. Yeah, lost a lot of time on the exit of 2 and 4.
Over 0.3 of a second slower. He's 8th quickest. Steve.
All right, I'm going to jump in here. We got 2 drivers talking. We're going to see, first of all, what they're talking about. All right, last week in New Atlanta, a totally different feel. You were up front going for the win, but now we're back to what seems like old New Hampshire. Slick. Okay, reality. Tell me what you're feeling.
Man, I love New Hampshire. I love coming here. I'm running the modified tonight, so I'm pumped up about that. We were just talking about our short track stuff has not been great. So we put everything on the table. We saw everything that we've ran beforehand. We're going to just not run any of that, and we'll see what we got today.
All right, Corey, with a good run last week. I know disappointment. Mechanical took you out last week. Now you're here to the 1 mile. As a crew chief, this was always one of the most frustrating because I couldn't help you much. It's like a parking lot down there in 1 and 2. As a driver, what's your confidence level going to qualify? What lane you need to run?
I think I know what lane I need to run. It's just whether I can do that with speed, right? So, our Kroger Chevrolet was bouncing a lot, similar to last week at Atlanta. So, which, turn 3 is treacherous already. And we got our hands full right now. So we made some big changes, what we could here on pit road, and we're going to go out and give her a shot.
So I see a lot of smiles. Real quick, guys, this format, 20 minutes, and it seems to move along so quick. Has it had to change how you approach and how you look at information?
Well, you're kind of stuck with what you come here with. You got a couple sway bar adjustments and some wedge, but whatever you have here for speed and practice is pretty much what you're going to have all weekend. And I'm decent, feeling good about our race trim, but track position here is so important. So hopefully we can put a lap down with this Built Bar Camaro.
Well, I got to go talk to Patty and get some Cadillac shocks for that thing. Why are you bouncing?
Hook me up there, Steve. Hook me up.
All right, we got 2 drivers down here. A lot of smiles, but you can feel the pressure, right? Qualifying's here. These guys need to go out and get a good lap. We keep talking about track position and how important it is.
Interesting. You mentioned a lot of smiles. I think the drivers love this. It's a challenge. It's a challenge for them, and that's what, as a driver, you like a challenge in front of you.
Yeah, you look at that challenge, and you're trying to make yourself, your race car, and your team better than everybody else, and that's the challenge that's presented every week. I explain to people a lot that because there's a lot of excitement about this sport now, and I see people that never thought about this before, but they like the new car, the look of it, and the competition that we're seeing. But explain to them that every week it's not like a football field, a hockey rink, a basketball court. This is different every single week, and then you throw in the elements of weather and everything else. So that's just the challenge that you have have as a driver.
Sun on a racetrack versus cloud cover could help a driver on his one lap that he's trying to run the fastest. Eric Jones now on the clock. Dave Ellens, when he came over to Petty GMS, I think he's another one like Kurt Busch. He's made the organization better as a whole.
Oh, yeah. You've seen them compete at a higher level. Fun to watch them. You see them around at the end of these races a lot more. God, just missed that top 5 right there, but a good, solid effort there. But you just see a lot of good things happening with this driver and team.
There's Tyler Reddick as he's chatting, making sure that they know exactly what they want when they go out onto the racetrack. Randall Burnett, crew chief for him, as we see Eric Almirola, last year's winner here at the racetrack. He's in the green right now, again comparing to Kyle Busch, who's in 5th. The top 5 will advance to the 2nd round of qualifying.
Eric, it really seems that the flatter tracks on the circuit have always seemed to suit him. See a little twist there. Oh, man, he was in really good shape there, getting down into turn 3. You can see it's hurting him a little bit on the exit, but it looks like still going to be enough to get inside the top 5 right now.
And only one more car to go as Almirola will lock himself into the top 5 because, again, only one more attempt here by Chase Elliott. This is the end of Group A qualifying. And Chris Buescher now of RFK Racing is on that bubble, right on the line. We'll see if Elliott, who doesn't have a good start to the first lap, although he's coming with, we mentioned momentum earlier, a lot of momentum after winning in his home state a week ago.
Yeah, great pass there for the lead right at the end, and then make this block there to make it all happen and win close to home. Nothing like that. The hottest man on the circuit right now.
And 0.3 of a second is what he has right now over Buescher. So Chase Elliott's going to advance to round 2 out of this Group A qualifying.
Yeah, the fastest lap.
29.89 for Chase Elliott. That is the fastest lap that has been run. And so those 5, Elliott, Byron Wallace, Almirola, and Keselowski, they will all be advancing. Coming up, Group B qualifying, that's A.J. Allmendinger who will be first out. Top 10 from Group A in qualifying. Group B will be taking to the track here in just a moment, but the yellow, the top 5, will advance into the final round. Junior, any surprises in this top 5?
Yeah, obviously. I mean, Bubba Wallace is a bit of a surprise to see him up there in the top 5. And Eric Almirola, that's got to give him a lot of confidence. We know he had a big surprise win here last year. That team, that organization was quick at Phoenix. I think they brought that same pace here, so he's got another shot at it. And Brad Keselowski, they've been working hard, trying to get that team better. This is a big deal for them. Think about that. For them to make that final round, little things like that really boost the morale in the entire shop.
It's Brad K's first time advancing since Martinsville, which was race 8 of the season.
They just had to get close to Fenway, you know. That's what.
Apparently that's
got to show off a little for that. But really good to see him at making that. His teammate Chris Buescher was right there too. So a lot of good things happening. I can't say that about AJ here. He's having a hard time there on the exit of turn 2. That seems to be a trouble spot. Man, he's got a lot going on inside of there.
How can he take his hands off the wheel to shift? His hands are moving so much.
I might have had to just hang on and go through there in 5th gear.
Man. Very busy for A.J. Allmendinger. 30-39 is the number that everybody in this second group, Group B, will be looking
He's glad
to
that's over.
Yeah, he's ready to take a break, Kim.
And Martin Truex Jr., this would be one of those tracks we put in this group of, oh, this is Martin Truex Jr.'s home track. This is a good track for you and the family, though. Your dad's won here. You've had success here. Still looking for that Cup win. So coming to this track this weekend, what are the challenges of this new car?
Well, this has always been a challenging racetrack in general from a grip standpoint. What lane you run, the transitions between all the lanes, and then you throw in the bumps that are getting worse each year we come back, and then this thing here. So it's quite a challenge. But I thought our Interstate Camry was pretty close in practice. We were good on one end, a little off on the other. So trying to figure out how to balance that.
And that'll be good for the race. But what do you have here for qualifying this afternoon?
I really have no idea. Honestly, I don't think anyone does till they get out there. But typically, this is always a 2-lap qualifying track, and it's really a place where it's hard for the get-to tires to come in quick enough. That's going to be the challenge, is can you get off a turn 4 with enough grip to make a good turn 1? So I have no idea, but we'll see.
He has no idea. We have no idea, guys, who's going to be on the pole. But he talked about what you guys mentioned earlier, that tire pressure and the heat, the amount of time it takes to get into the tires and the challenges that this style qualifying presents with those style pressures.
Yeah, definitely. It's a formula. Oh, as we see a lot of smoke coming out of the 51 of Cody Ware in that Nurtec ODT Ford.
Yeah, had a pretty decent lap going to.
Smoked the left front.
Yeah, definitely did that. Smoked that left front, got in there a little hot. Probably carried more speed off of turn 2 and got him down there further. Might have been braking at the same point, but you could see right there where those bumps are. He started that hard braking, and
yeah, that was locked up for a long ways.
Yeah.
Even in slow motion, that was that was a long time. And so next out onto the track, we had just heard from him, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Last 2 New Hampshire races, he's finished 15th or better, right up next to the wall.
Telling you.
He said he knew the line.
Yeah, he knew the line. His car just wasn't acting right. But we see everybody kind of kicking out there off turn 2. So that's going to make, you think about, fast forward to tomorrow, the restarts are just going to be insane.
This afternoon, the Xfinity race is going to take place. Josh Berry actually in qualifying ran the fastest lap, and he tagged the turn 2 wall when he came out of turn 2. So I'm wondering if these Cup drivers are saying, well, maybe you got to get all of turn 2 that you can for a fast lap.
Yeah, just make sure that you give yourself an extra couple of inches because it costs Josh Berry.
That's right.
It'll make it fun for us to watch him coming from the back.
Corey LaJoie, speaking of fun, it was so much fun watching Corey LaJoie have a great run at Atlanta. He's out front coming up on the final laps at Atlanta, and then the 9 gets by him as he's trying to get back by. He looks inside, looks outside, and as he's going high, just a little too much into the wall he went, turned around, but he was one of the first to get into victory lane, and congratulate Chase Elliott. Interesting, on his he has a Stacking Pennies podcast, and he asked the question, he said, would it be okay, Chase, if I won next race? And Chase right away said, nope. He goes, you wouldn't let me win, so I'm not letting you win.
Yeah.
It was pretty classic. Kim.
And Ryan Blaney's been dynamo when it comes to qualifying this season, tied with Christopher Bell for the most poles at 3, looking to make it a 4th here. But everybody has talked about the challenges of qualifying here at New Hampshire. Based on what you saw from your car in practice, how are you feeling about this lap?
Yeah, we had a little work to do after practice. We made a decent change, got closer our second run, but still, need to find some speed in our Menards Living Ford Mustang. So hopefully we made the right adjustments for qualifying. Big thing is trying to figure out what lane you're going to run. I've seen fast cars run in the middle. I've seen fast cars that kind of peak up in the 3rd lane and then come down. So all that stuff I'm still trying to figure out, but hopefully we found a little speed and can go after the pole.
Thanks, Ryan. Guys, these drivers, I don't know that they're helping us out much with the information they can share here this afternoon.
Not very open with that information. Tyler Reddick, though, he opened up this week, and I think it surprised the whole industry. In 18 months, he's going to be driving for 2311, and right away, Richard Childress Racing, right after that announcement was made, put this announcement out saying, could not be a worse timing. After coming off Tyler Reddick getting a win, they were going to build that organization around Tyler Reddick, and then Tyler Reddick announces he's going to be leaving.
Yeah, and you can't, obviously Richard Childress and his organization been around a long time, done a lot of things, a lot of championships, but you can't fault Tyler Reddick for looking ahead, and you try to make decisions for your future as to what is best for you. And Tyler Reddick had that opportunity. He had a lot of people after him, and so, but he found the situation he thought was right for him. I agree, timing couldn't have been worse, but they'll keep battling and see what they can get out of 2022 here.
Yeah, I think the main issue with the timing is just the fact that they just came off the win and they're going to try to battle for a championship. And obviously there's long-term ramifications for RCR, but mainly that team sort of being on an upswing and having a ton of momentum, and that really changes things. It takes the focus, I guess, away from the performance and their potential in the playoffs to a story that obviously RCR doesn't want to hear about. But you're going, if that agreement happens between 2311 and Reddick, you are not going to keep that a secret. There's no way for them to keep that a secret, as you see Kurt Busch put one down.
Chopped at 3/4.
A really fast lap.
Wow.
Compared to what we saw in the first group. So I wonder if this track's made a little bit of change. I don't know if it's got cooler, temperature in the track surface went down a little bit.
Yeah, that was a blazing lap. Fastest lap we have seen through practice and qualifying, 29.66 for Kurt Busch. But we also saw Bubba Wallace in the first group. He's part of that top 5. So now 23.11's got 2 cars that are going to be fighting to be in either the pole position or, top 5, top 10.
Yeah, when you look at that, you wonder what adjustments exactly did they make to their cars for this qualifying deal, because it worked for both. Huge lap.
Yeah, definitely worked out for them as Michael McDowell finishes his lap. We're about halfway through Group B. We'll be back for the second half. Ross Chastain will be the last to go out in Group B as far as qualifying goes. And, of course, Trackhouse Racing, they've been a part of about every motor mouth moment that we've had to start the season, whether it be first-time winners with both Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez, or the fact that Ross Chastain hasn't made a lot of friends in the garage area. And once again, in Atlanta, got into Denny Hamlin, who I would think that would be the absolute last person you would want to be rubbing fenders with.
For sure.
For Ross Chastain especially, since Denny has been very vocal. But sure enough, these two have brushed it up on different racetracks. And that didn't work well for either Ross Chastain or Martin Truex Jr. And then a little bit later on, it's a little bit loose up into the 11, turns him around. But Ross Chastain finished second at Atlanta. So he feels like the race went great for him. But obviously that will be talked about a lot on Motor Mouth. Again, that's Monday, Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Steve Lechart's actually going to be hosting that. Fans get a call in. So make sure to take advantage of that, where you can voice your opinions on all of the exciting things that are happening in NASCAR.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about on those Mondays and Wednesdays, but the best thing is the fans get to call in and either have questions for us or our guest, and so it's a great show, a lot of fun to do. And yes, Ross has been the talk about a lot of it, no doubt about it. He's a hard racer, but he and Denny are going to find themselves around each other a whole lot, so they're going to have to, some way, shape or form, try to figure these things out. But and I think there'll be more to come before 2022's over.
Where do you stand? I've heard you give a few opinions about it, but where do you stand on how aggressive Ross has been racing everybody up in the top 5?
No problem with how aggressive he races. That's just the way that he has decided to go about things. My thing is whenever these paybacks, if you will, start coming around, how does Ross handle it then? You can't, if you're going to drive like that, then you can't, when it happens to you, then you can't jump to the other side and say, well, this is just ridiculous. You've kind of made that bed. But I think Ross is just going to go about his bit. I don't want to see him change being aggressive. Can he be a little smarter in a situation? That could have been avoided. The St. Louis thing with Denny had been trying to pass him. I think Denny could have let him by there. But last weekend, Ross has to understand a situation. This is a driver that I've had problems with. I don't need to create more situations. He's a hard racer. I understand that. But that could have been avoided just by backing out just for a split second, making sure that contact didn't happen.
Here's Christopher Bell on track. And once again, we're right now comparing to Kurt Busch as far as the fastest lap. Here in a moment, we're going to be referring to the top 5.
Right now, there is no comparison to Kurt Busch, but we can see Christopher Bell, and this will be somebody to watch tomorrow. I know they've had their issues on pit road also, but this young man has driven his heart out every single weekend. He's had good race cars, and they've just had things keeping them out of victory lane, but tomorrow that could all change here.
Another great lap.
Yeah.
That one, Christopher Bell, another sub 30-second lap. And Kevin Harvick. Here's a racetrack where Kevin has had great success. Would love to be able to start up inside the top 5, maybe even inside the top 10. That track position's so key. His pit crew has gotten better week after week once they've made some changes. So Kevin Harvick trying to get this team turned around.
Yeah, and qualifying has been a big part of that because it's put them on alternate strategies at times to have to do things to get that back. They haven't been terrible in a lot of races. Hasn't been what we expect from them, but pretty good lap there.
Yeah, great lap.
Second quick. Really good.
29.94 for Harvick. So as we look down the list here, there are still 5 to go. That doesn't lock him into the top 5, but that's an awfully impressive lap as we see Daniel Suarez now on track.
Yeah, he didn't have the speed that his teammate had in that practice session, but we'll see here what he's able to do. You can see a little twitch right there. Although he was able to stay in the gas, it didn't really hurt his speed there on the exit. Here again, he's being compared to Reddick, who's in that 5th spot right now. Lost a lot on the entry. See if he can make it up on the exit.
Another little bobble there as he exits 4, and it stays in the red for Suarez, so he will not break into the top 5 here in Group B qualifying.
It looked like his trouble spot at those bumps getting into turn 3 there. Just not comfortable yet over those.
There's Kyle Larson, reigning Cup Series champion, and he now on the clock.
I think this car was really good in practice, and one of the guys I think that I'd like to see go up against Kurt Schlapp, as he's being compared to Reddick down there on the bottom right of the screen. That lap by Kurt, man, just stands out above anything anyone has done today. And you can bet not only, you know, Denny Hamlin, but all the Toyota drivers are going to be going over there to talk to him about what he felt and what they might have been able to do to produce that speed.
That's a great lap there by Larson. Not as fast as Kurt Busch, but very close. 29.74.
Wow.
Those two will face off once again in round 2. As we know, Kurt Busch and Larson look to be 2 of the fastest so far in this qualifying session.
Yeah, both of them seem to be a little bit lower on the racetrack up through the center of the corner than the others that I've seen.
We'll see if Martin Truex Jr. also saw that.
Yeah,
he's in the green right now.
Yeah, he's down there on the bottom too, and we saw that in practice from him being lower. As we showed him and Tyler Reddick, he was much lower on the track.
So it took us almost the entire qualifying session to figure out exactly where we need to run, and that's why this qualifying session and this track is so difficult, because you just really don't know, and it's always that hindsight's 2020 issue. And when it's over with, I should have ran here, I should have ran there, but you can start to see the trend.
100th of a second faster than Larson is Truex. And so now it's Kurt Busch, Truex Jr., Larson, Harvick, and Bell is now currently on that bubble position. Ryan Blaney, many would say Ryan Blaney could be the favorite.
Yeah, right around the bottom there too. We'll see how this turns out, but you can see he's in pretty good shape. Cost him a little bit on the exit there, but you know, we've seen kind of a flip-flop here. Group B cars are faster now, but I think they had a true sense of what the racetrack was really going to be like here. See if Blaney can hold on here, slowing down and losing a little bit of time on the exit to Bell. Oh, just going to miss it.
Did not break into the top 5, so missed it by 9/1000th of a second. So difficult situation there for Blaney. We'll see what Ross Chastain has, as he will be the final of the Group B qualifying session, as he's in the red to start off with.
Yeah, you could hear when Martin Truex was interviewed by Kim, he talked about coming to get the green. How aggressive could you be? How much grip did you have? Because, you know, how soon can you get in the gas? And you can see Ross was behind from the very start and not going to be able to make this up.
Yeah, it was 0.2 of a second as he entered turn 3, those bumps in turn 3. He stays low all the way through 3 and 4, but going the wrong direction now as far as speed and time. And so the 5 are now set from Group B. Kurt Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Larson, Kevin Harvick, and Christopher Bell will join Chase Elliott, William Byron, Bubba Wallace, Eric Almirola, and Brad Keselowski from Group A. So those will be the 10 that will be fighting it out for the pole, as well as those top 10 starting positions. Take a look at the 10. And is there a surprise here bigger than Brad Keselowski making this top 5 out of Group A? And he will be in round 2 fighting for the pole next. Getting ready for round 2 of qualifying from the Magic Mile. And some drivers have been taking advantage of the greater New England area here, Ken Squire's Thunder Road. Actually, maybe that's what Brad Keselowski, he's using the momentum. He raced there, had some fun there. So that's a possibility that that momentum is being used as we look at, we look at 11 through as far as the field goes. Ryan Blaney's so close to making it into the top 10, but these positions now locked up as far as starting for tomorrow's race.
Going to make some interesting decisions. We see a lot of drivers who expect to be further up front. Chase Briscoe being one of those all the way back in 29th. He and Austin Cindric right there.
Harrison Burton will start 31st all the way to Ty Dillon and Cody Ware rounding out the 36 car field. And with Kurt Busch, it's Kim.
And Kurt had the top speed in that round 2. So for you, for this next round, what do you have left?
I just got to go find that same unicorn that I saw prancing across the track. I just nailed the lap. I mean, the guys made good adjustments from the harshness and the ride in practice, and they made really good adjustments going into Q. So I'm hopeful that will help us in the race tomorrow, but just got to nail it. You can't underdrive it, and you got to hit it just right on corner exit and not have it bust loose.
Sounds like a balance beam, a little bit of a balance beam for Kurt Busch. Again, fastest in Group B. He'll look to put it on the pole in the next round of qualifying, Steve.
Well, Kim, 23:11 with 2 very fast race cars. We just talked to your teammate, Bubba Wallace, kind enough to talk to us as he sits in the race car. Bubba, advance to the second round, sitting down here in your car. What's it like to go out and try to qualify at this slick, flat 1 mile?
It's definitely slick. It's weird. Like, I haven't felt confident with the car, but it has some speed in it, too, so that's kind of embracing for that to be a little bit of a long day tomorrow, but that's all right. It doesn't have to handle perfect to be fast, so proud of everybody on our DraftKings Toyota Camry. Good speed. Walked over to Kurt, said he was driving a unicorn, so hopefully he left me something out there to get some too.
Did you hear that, Dale Jr.? Dale Jarrett doesn't have to drive good to be fast. I like what my man Bubba's.
And over at Lime Rock Park at 5 o'clock, it's IMSA racing. But we're getting ready for round 2 of qualifying for the Cup Series. And DJ, we heard Kurt Busch say, I ran a perfect lap here at New Hampshire. How difficult is it to run a perfect lap and then try to back it up?
Difficult or impossible? That would be the closer word for me. You know, back in the old day, you used to have a time you could stand on your time. If I were Kurt Busch, I'd see if I could go back in time and just say, y'all shoot for that. But it is very difficult. Great lap that he put down. The thing is, I don't think the track or his tires are going to be much different now. So I think the opportunity to do that is there. But he knows that Kyle Larson wasn't far off of him, so he's going to have to be perfect once again.
A lot of competition. Junior will bring you in. 23:11 has never won a pole. Could that change today?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with that lap that Kurt Busch ran, they've got a shot at it. But it'll be interesting, too, to see if they can run faster, if they run the same speed. Will they slow down? We know these cars got quicker in practice up to about the 7th lap, so there's a potential for the tires to be even better, have a little more grip. But there is a lot of pressure on these drivers. This is what these guys get paid for. They're going to all be racked again. And you got to go out there and not only either back up that perfect lap or fix the mistakes that you made that kept you from getting that pole. So this will be tough for these guys. You know you won't be worse than 10th, but you got to go out there and make it happen.
Steve, these are the top 10 cars as far as fastest time that we've seen in this qualifying session. Can you make adjustments, and do you make adjustments as a crew chief to try to make them faster?
Well, you can make small adjustments to the car. The biggest thing is the driver can make adjustments to what he did as well. And I really think as we see these drivers sitting in their car, this is the most pressure-packed time. You know, if you're Keselowski or Almirola or a guy that has room to improve, I think you feel this is an opportunity. But as Dale Jr. just mentioned, if you're Kurt Busch and you put the lap of laps up there, you know, in years past, that was enough. You're the pole sitter. Congratulations. Not this year. This year it's, hey, you've earned the right to go do it again. I think that could be even more pressure-packed. This is like a new feeling just walking along these 10 cars that get ready to have to go run again.
Downshifting there for Keselowski as he comes up to the green flag for his first lap of this second round of qualifying.
You know, other than if Kurt Busch or Bubba Wallace is able to win and get that first pole for 23:11, making this 10 is probably as big a day as Brad Keselowski and his team have had in a while right now. They needed some good things to happen to keep some momentum, get some momentum as they go trying to get that victory that could get at least one of their cars into the playoffs.
Within an organization, I know drivers' teams are always competing to be the best of that organization, and it's been Chris Buescher many weeks out of the start of 2022, and I think Brad Keselowski has felt that and was hoping that this organization and this team can get better week after week. And so making the top 10, as you mentioned, a big accomplishment for the 6 team, as now Eric Almirola, last year's winner of this race, on track very high through turns 1 and 2 for Almirola. We've seen the faster times being run down there close to the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, you can see it's like he was just trying to let the car roll and keep as much speed, the RPMs up as much as you possibly can, but that got him a little bit high, cost him a little time. He's going to be a little faster than Keselowski here. Brad actually slowed down just not quite a 1/10.5 from his previous run.
Almirola a little bit faster than Keselowski. Again, we'll go backward, reverse order. And so Wallace will be the next one on the clock. And so Bubba Wallace mentioned how slick this racetrack was. Stunned Steve Letarte by telling him that the car didn't have to be perfect to be fast.
That was solid right there, though, right around the box where we saw the two fast with Kyle Larson and with Kurt Busch make their fast laps. It was right through the center. The car rotated really well, carried a lot of speed, a little higher on this end of the racetrack. You could see that he lost a little bit of time down there. But that could have been from the bumps entering turn 3, but he's still going to be the quickest of the 3 so far.
Booty Barker, crew chief for that 23, getting the feedback and information. Next up, William Byron. William Byron will also be racing in the Xfinity Series race here this afternoon. Again, 2 o'clock countdown to green, 2:30 for the race for the Xfinity Series. As we see him in the red early in this run.
He'll be in a junior motorsports car this afternoon, which has been the team so far here in 2022 in the Xfinity Series. So interesting to watch him perform.
I think William got a little bit high in 1 and 2 there. Cost him a little bit. And you can see tidied it up in 3 and 4 to improve his lap somewhat. But it's going to be important, like we saw late in the Group B running, to stay low as you possibly can, just in that second group.
Now Chase Elliott makes his way out and on the clock in the green early.
That's a good line right there through that corner. Can he make the exit and continue to gain time?
And can he do it down here in turn 3 and 4? These bumps seem to be giving them some problems. They try to drive through there, braking, shifting all at the same time. But this is the lowest of the cars that we've seen so far. See if that works out. You can see good speed on the exit too still.
Lowest and fastest. And will we see our first sub 30? Just over 30.009 for Chase Elliott. But that is the fastest of the 5 that have gone. Now we'll see what's next Christopher Bell will have as we go down to the track. And Kim.
Brad Keselowski, not a pole-winning effort, but you'll still start top 10. How important, with what you guys have battled this season, is it to start off on the right foot for a weekend?
Yeah, it's big track position races, so you want to start in the top 10. Here, Kim, you really need a great pit stall. Hopefully we won't be pitting too much, but when you do, you want to take advantage of it. So certainly good to have a top 10 starting spot and something to build off.
Two-time winner here. I know these cars are very different, but from what you could feel in the car during practice, do you have what you need to get the job done tomorrow?
We still got ways to go to keep working on our cars. The speed that the Hendrick cars and even the Toyota showed here this weekend so far has been pretty blazing. So we're going to keep working on it, see if we can find a little more.
Brad Keselowski with some speed here in qualifying. We'll see what they have for the race tomorrow, guys.
I mean, very honest. He said, we still are working. We're trying to improve. That's one of the big things that when Brad moved over to Roush Fenway and put his name on the organization that he talked about. He wants to get Roush Fenway Keselowski racing back up to where it used to be when it was just Jack Roush and they were winning championship after championship and they were dominant teams on the racetrack. They're still building for that, and that's the goal for that organization, and Brad has put his name on the organization as well. That's the commitment that he has.
Yeah, and he knew going in there that there were pieces and processes and people that needed to change, and the right people getting in the right spots. And then you throw in a brand new race car on top of that. That makes all that even more difficult. But I think that what we have seen, now he's shown us a real patience on the outside. Is that going on inside, because as a driver and competitor, you want it to happen quicker. But we do see progress with it, and I think there's a lot to be said for that.
And this is great. Brad Keselowski just stepped out of the car. He's walking back to the hauler, and look at him taking pictures. He's signing autographs. Very appreciative of the fan support that he has had his entire career and continues to have. And how about the availability? That's the other thing I love about this sport is, that's like a quarterback walking off of a field. But while he's walking off the field, all the fans are down there, talking to him, taking pictures, selfies, getting autographs.
Yeah, and that's what you see as fans when you come to these racetracks, and the opportunity that you get to be right there with the stars of the sport.
Brad went to a local racetrack that he grew up racing at to run a super late model car. So still going back to the short tracks and maintaining that connection with fans there. Critical for drivers, young and old.
You're going to do the same, I think, Junior. Running a late model race at North Wilkesboro, I think, was just announced.
Yeah, Tyler Reddick was running last night, a super late model in this area. So awesome to see our drivers at the Cup level still stepping down into the short track rank.
Yeah, not only is Junior going to race, but just a few weeks ago to celebrate Jack Ingram at Hickory Motor Speedway. Dale Jr. was there with some others signing autographs and, just giving back there. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there. Junior asked me to come be a part of. I had other commitments already, but, just the kind of things that, the stars that are happening now, and with Junior being still one of the biggest faces and names in this sport, took the time to go to Hickory Speedway, and it meant a lot to that track and the community and everyone with Jack Ingram.
Isn't that track in your backyard?
Pretty well used to be. I kind of have another backyard now.
The backyard's changed a little bit.
Yeah.
As we see Kevin Harvick now on the clock. Christopher Bell was third quickest with his lap of 30.12. And Hunt Brothers giving us a great look back at how hard Kevin Harvick has to work. And way harder than he wanted. Yeah, he's got to get out of the gas. So he really lost a whole lap there.
Yeah, and no reason even.
Or shut off or missed shift. I don't know.
Oh. See, it turned sideways here, and as he started to go back, it's like.
Yeah, he realized.
If he shut it off, or if it shut off, he was talking.
Yeah, he had to get out of the gas so much. I think he just said, it's not worth it.
No. It's unfortunate for them. But, as you said, this is a situation you've already locked yourself in the top 10, which is a good starting spot for this race tomorrow.
Kyle Larson, what does he have for Chase Elliott?
He had some problems. That's what he had through 1 and 2. Got up the racetrack a little bit too far. Had some problems crossing the seams back off of 2. A lot of these drivers talking about the exit of 2 being the toughest part of this track with his car.
Two-tenths of a second off what Chase Elliott has run. So Larson is down in 6th of the 10.
That was shocking to me there with the lap that he put down. But, you go try to do that. When you run that good lap, trying to back that up, this is hard. We keep talking about that.
So now Martin Truex Jr. and Kurt Busch, the only 2 remaining, both had run very fast laps in the first round of qualifying.
He had a lot of speed through the center of the corner, which put him a little later getting back to the throttle, so he lost a little time. Now you can see it going back to the green here, but he's going to be later getting back to the throttle. Is it going to be enough? Oh, it's going the right
Stays in
direction.
the green. And Martin Truex Jr.
Oh, that was sweet there. Good lap.
Now has the pole. 29.96. So Martin Truex Jr. sets the mark. Can Kurt Busch win the first ever pole for 2311 Racing?
And Kurt's lap, remember, was 3/10 quicker than what Martin ran just now. So Kurt knows the pace is in that car if he matches the lap he ran before.
Wow,
in the green.
Exit. That was a great exit. I mean, he was wide open and hauling the mail down the back straightaway here.
Through 3 in the bumps. Into the red he goes. Right there, though. Can he get back out? As he comes out of 4, is it going to happen? It doesn't look like today. 3rd for Kurt Busch. Martin Truex Jr. wins the pole at New Hampshire. So as we mentioned, it would have been the first pole for 2311. Joe Gibbs Racing, the 133rd pole for that organization.
Wow. I don't think I contributed any to that number. Just so you know.
You're saying qualifying wasn't the forte?
No.
Okay. Well, the Daytona 500 was pretty good for you as far as finishes. And Martin Truex Jr., by the way, this is his first pole with Joe Gibbs Racing. So after making the move over to Joe Gibbs Racing, he gets his first pole. Kim.
And Martin Truex Jr. Elated after that lap. Wow, a fast one out there. Track position is going to be key. How do you keep it, though, tomorrow?
I don't know. We'll just, see how it goes. And sorry, it's a little loud, but really just proud of everybody on the team. We've had an up and down year, and we've been just digging and clawing and scratching and fighting, and just proud of James and everyone. So this track has always been a special one for me, and we certainly didn't come here expecting to have this kind of speed, and just really proud of everybody. So first time having interstate batteries on the car. Excited about all those folks and joining our team. And you're right, it's going to be very difficult to pass. Kind of seen it in practice. I kind of caught a guy, and I just kept slowing down the more he slowed down. So track position will be huge. Our pit crew has really come a long way since the beginning of the year, so we're going to really need to lean on them tomorrow. But excited about starting up front.
Seeing the speed you have in such a short run, does that excite you for the restarts, because they will be crazy tomorrow?
They're always crazy, Kim, honestly. I mean, it's just what this sport is. Everybody's so competitive and everybody's so close. You got to get what you can. So last weekend I did do my job on the last restart and had a shot to win and screwed it up, and hopefully tomorrow I can make it up to the guys.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Martin Truex Jr. leading field to green tomorrow, Steve.
Well, I have the other half of that front row, Chase Elliott. Chase, we talked earlier, you were not real sure or confident what to expect in qualifying. Have to be happy with second.
Well, I was shocked. I was shocked that we were second, and shocked it held on that long. I mean, those guys ran 70s in that first round, and I barely ran a flat, so I thought for sure they would go closer to what they ran that first round. So really proud of our Napa team today. I mean, it's not been super pretty, but I feel like we've learned a couple things. So, at this point, we just got to make sure we, make some good decisions overnight. Not saying we have to completely, rebuild it, but I do think we need to be a little better, and I need to probably work on some things on my end to help create some longevity in our car too. So proud of the effort. Nice to be on the front row, and gives us a good pit pick. Would love to have that first one, but if I was being selfish. But yeah, the second will be, give us a solid one to choose from, and we'll go to work all day tomorrow.
A good lap for Chase Elliott, and I have to agree. Even the second pit pick guys will give him a great choice that'll help all day tomorrow in the race.
Those are the top two. Let's take a look at the starting grid. Martin Truex Jr. You mentioned interstate batteries on the car for him. First time he wins a pole with Joe Gibbs Racing. Interstate Batteries was there when you were racing for Joe Gibbs Racing.
Yeah, they were the sponsor that came in there to get everything started there, and you could see that 2311 had starting spots beside each other up there in the top two rows, so good for them.
Pretty impressive. Corey LaJoie will start back in the 11th spot alongside Eric Jones. And a little further back,
yeah, drivers and teams that are going to have to think about how they get themselves to the front. A little alternate strategy. We'll see. Two-tire stops hadn't been a great thing, but we'll see if that might work here at Loudon.
So we saw Kurt Busch show a lot of speed. Bubba Wallace also talked about it being a little bit slick. So 2311 strong. Ultimately, it was Joe Gibbs Racing and Martin Truex Jr. Is he the favorite as we go into this race, starting from the front?
Yeah, he has to be talked about as one of the favorites. I think the guy that you have to look at is going to be starting right beside him in Chase Elliott. He's got the most momentum in the last 4 or 5 weeks with a couple of wins during that time. I think that he has to be the favorite. Even though Chevrolet hasn't won here in quite a while, I think that you just have to look at momentum and things going. But Martin Truex Jr., even though Kyle Busch didn't qualify that good, I think he'll be in the mix also.
Okay, so we'll see if Joe Gibbs Racing has success once again here at the Magic Mile. As coming up next, it's Austin Dillon's Life in the Fast Lane. And again, the Xfinity Series will be right back here at 2 o'clock for Countdown to Green, 2:30 for the green flag.